Namaste. Let's talk today about the higher self. Let's clarify that terms that sometimes we are putting so much load on it. Oh, my higher self will know better, or I will let my higher self to lead me, or we have that new terms going around in the spiritual field that sometimes we don't really understand what is that and how is the link that is helpful to us. So the first thing is we don't want to replace the concept of God or something that is higher than us by changing the name of higher self. So I would leave it to the higher self. That be careful. It's not something that is higher than you. Now, I would like to approach it from the perspective of physics, and which is very much closer to the idea that we are all connected and that we are forming a network of information, right? So if we can imagine that there are cells and each cell is an individual with his own universe, his own learnings, his own soul trajectory, his own life force, his own creation, and his own power of love, wisdom, and life. So there are these units through the universe. In a large scale, we can say is the planets and the stars and the universes and the galaxies. In the small scale, we can say is the cells in the body and the micro beings inside ourselves, that we are a complete universe. And all this is interconnected. All these cells are interconnected. So with one cell is in distress or is in pain, it emanates electrical and magnetic fields that pulsates to the nearby cells and forms a kind of a wave, a network through the entire creation. So that's why in a way you are responsible for everything, because your choices and the way you conduct your evolution is very much felt everywhere. Now, that's the first principle. The second one is that that cell is surrounded by a specific cells that are in complement and supplement of its function. For example, the liver cells are all liver cells and are forming a function for the organism to be alive, to be well, to be in balance. And in that liver, there are cells that are complementary, meaning that vibrate at the same rate, and there are others that are, I won't say against, but is helping to eliminate. So it's both. There are some that will agree with you, some bodies will agree with you, some souls will agree with you, it will support you, and other ones will oppose you. Between these two, you create a network that is near you and is conducive for growth, evolution. That's how it works. Now, how this relate to the higher self? You have not only cells that are near you, but you also have parallel realities or parallel cells that are in another timelines. And in those timelines could be 500 years from here, it could be 300 years behind you, It's all different timelines that create this matrix that you can call self. In the moment that you have an experience in this body, in this cell, all your timelines are feeling it and are communicating. So there is a helping unit, all these parallel cells, all these complementary and supplementary, and all creation is promoting that cell that you call yourself to grow, to learn, to expand, to experiment. That is the only thing that the one in creation is interested about, is to see what is the capability of your creation, to see what are the probabilities of creation. That's how creation and the one enjoy itself, know itself. So when we come to higher self, it's a very sophisticated network of information. It's the information that reads what is it that you need in the moment and what it will be the best course of action for that need to be fulfilled, for that lesson to be learned, to be revealed to you. And it's in here where it comes the great sentence of communication with the higher self, or with that information. How it comes to you is electrically, vibration that shake your whole emotional body. And that is experienced as a passion, or as an enthusiasm, or as an inclination to do something that you like and you love the most on that day, or that you are in the path. It's not something that is isolated. It escalates and surrounds you with a function, like the liver, right? The liver is going to receive enthusiastically the information that it needs to complete its functions. The other part of the higher self, of how it communicates to you, is through silence. The higher self is not a talkative person. It's a very quiet. It brings the information and it waits to see what is the response of the cells. Have you received it? How you have received it? When you have acted on it? Have you understood? If those are fulfilled, then it sends you the other piece of information. If not, it waits. If not, it becomes a kind of a patiently waiting, but not for long. When it feels the urgency, because all this information have to circulate through the system, through creation. If one unit is not working, the higher self start to send information, wake up, do, wake up, do. And that's when we feel that pressure, that if we don't act in what is our passion, we become ill, we become stagnant, we become depressed. We have other dynamics there. But the important part is to see that it's not, the higher self is not something one unit. It's a multiple eyes, multiple selves, multiple experiences, wisdom. And in that communication is such a love, is such an enthusiasm, is such a just simply joy of being in contact. When you are in silence, you are in the deepest, most conducive environment for the higher self to talk to you. And the communication, this is the fourth part, the communication is not passing through the ego. And this is very important. Sometimes I hear students say, oh, my higher self told me to go and try to seduce this man, or this is the person I need to contact. And it doesn't work that way. You need to distinguish that electrical pulse of the higher self versus the self gaining information. The self puts you in the stress that you don't know what is the next step. The higher self will tell you, go to this place and don't ask me why. Buy this thing and don't ask me why. And you sometimes know and sometimes you won't know, depending on if it's relevant to you. But every action you make, it changes the position and the circuits in this higher network. Your higher self is just a simple gathering of certain amount of information that you can handle. As you expand your structure, as you accept and obey more that little circle, you start expanding, and the higher self with you. Both are intrinsically together. There is no way that you can be out of that matrix, and there is no way that the matrix cannot communicate with you. That's why you're never alone and you're always informed, either in a dream, in a revelation, in an inspiration, in an imagination. You're always informed of your highest passion at all times. The higher self loves not only the communication, but the consistency of your actions in that information. It's not something that you receive and you create and isolate information. There is consistency, there is trajectory, there is 1, 2, 3 steps, and you won't know the number 5 step if you have not taken the number 2 or the number 3. It's all given precisely when you need it, in the moment that you need it, and in the way that you need it, in the way that you understand. So the relationship with your higher self is really much depending on how silent your ego is. The more silent your self identification is, the more quiet you are, the more clear you can see the depths of the lake, right? The more quiet the water, the more transparent is, the more deep you can see. So silence and higher self go hands to hand. And it's not silence that is not speaking, it's silence internally, of that internal mind and conversation that is always suggesting things or planning things or expecting things or calculating things or cataloging things. All that, when it's quiet through meditation, through your breathing, the higher self is just embodied in each of the vibration of your organs and your muscles and your physical body. That integration is what is called communion. The communion of the body with the spirit or this higher self. Higher self is vibration. It's just pure vibration, full of information. There's nothing mystic about it. Is, however, very real when you are moving into the seeking of who you are. All you will find when you are engaged in who you are is just deep passion. It's just deep love. It's just this thriving and wanting to live and live. And you will find the incredible wisdom of your team. All your parallel selves is a team to you, and all are communicated at all times when you need it. When do you need, a mechanic? Oh, you find a mechanic by coincidence. Why? Because there is a mechanic in you. There is a mechanic in creation. And that mechanic come forward, come to your realm, come to your field. And it will tell you information, go here. That's where you will find the mechanics. It will give you gifts. And that's part of the abundance that the higher self gives you. So all this content that is abstract, dynamic, and always an eternal conversation is what we can call the higher self. It's not a God. It's just a network of life and creation. It's the one smiling at you. It's you smiling at one, and you being so supported at all times with any information that you wish to know. Just open your computer, which is your heart. Your heart in silence reveals all the mysteries of creation. Namaste.